Why are the 49ers cutting back on spending all of a sudden? John Lynch said it's the state of just what they have to deal with. They have tighter financial constraints just because they've been spending so much in the past. I don't know. How do you interpret this?
Iggy, I'm not in a position to interpret it, meaning I'm not in meetings with Parag as much as he wants me to be in meetings with him. Of course. But I'm not in meetings with him, so I don't know what their financial obstacles are. But I do think it's fair for them not to want to spend so much money. I do think that's fair. I think any corporation should not be throwing away money. So let's slow down. I want to tell you where I think they're throwing away money. Trent Williams.
Yep.
Christian McCaffrey.
Brandon Ayuk.
Iggy, throwing away money. Yep. And if you're running a multi-billion-dollar I guess it is, corporation, that's not good. I mean, they're not the only owners. There are other owners, have percentages. You can't run a business like that.
And the Niners aren't their only investment. They have other investments that they need to put cash into.
They have soccer clubs, right, in England?
Yeah.
Yes. So I think they're entitled to say to the general manager and to the coach, you don't have as much money. When I used to work at the Chronicle or at the Press Democrat, they would, at the beginning of every football season, we'd sit down and who had road trips. And, it would be Matty Mayoko and Bob Podecki and me. And they'd say, sometimes we don't have as much money. Lowell and Bob, you're not going to do as many trips. And what were we going to do? Stand on our head?
Yeah.
They were up against things too. We understood the reality of it. So, So I don't know their reasoning, but I respect their reasoning. But that doesn't mean it's an excuse to have a crummy team.
Yep. I mean, I understand saying look, Deebo Samuel's contract is ridiculous. We got to get rid of him. Juszczyk's contract's ridiculous. We got to get rid of him. All these defensive linemen. No, but to just turn around and do a whole bunch of nothing after that is strange. And I feel like this team makes too much money. I mean, the stands are always filled. They have a new stadium to say hey, we're going to be the Oakland A's for a year. That's strange.
Yes. Iggy, it seems strange and puzzling.
Yeah.
I wish I had an analysis that were sharp. I don't. Doesn't it feel a little like they're leaving Lynch and Shanahan out on an ice floe?
Yep.
Now, I don't know. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, again, last year they could have fired him 6-11 after the team they had and the money they spent. Could have fired him right then, but that would have been controversial. And instead, you bring him back and start a rebuild while he's on the hot seat. And it's we're going to go young, but you still have to make the playoffs. That's an interest. It's almost like we don't really want to take the heat in the controversy of firing you, but maybe you'll fire yourself next year.
Or you'll prove you're worth it.
One or the other.
Or you'll prove you're worth it. You will find a way to have a respectable season that we can all be proud of.
Right.
And
it's we can't know how good you are as a coach because you're over here making financial decisions that are hurting your ability to coach. Why don't we just give you 1 year to just be a coach? We'll leave the financial decisions to someone else, and you can put all of your effort into this one job. And if you're good, it'll show. And if you're not, it'll show.
Yeah. And what I want to say, Iggy, I think it's a fair test.
Mm-hmm.
They're not setting them up to fail. They're giving them a test.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair to give a coach a test. He gives his players tests.
Yes.
I'm sure they give tests every week, written tests on the defense, on the offense. They write stuff down. Now here's a test for you. I think it's fair for management to do that. And what's more, Iggy, I think Shanahan should want to meet the test, want to take the test. I can ace this. Watch me, Jed. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for him.
Yeah. McVay did it. McVay did it. He probably thinks he's a better coach than McVay. Why can't he do it?
Right. So I don't think they're screwing him. I think they're allowing him to flourish.
It's going to push him out of his comfort zone because we know Kyle doesn't like playing rookies unless he freaking has to, and now he freaking has to.
Then you do it. You know, one of the things that I object to, bad word, I am critical of. Shanahan is good at what he does. You know, there's a whole alphabet, but he only does through D, E, or F.
Yep.
You got to go through Z.
Mm-hmm.
You got to expand what you do, your repertoire. He's comfortable in his 6 or 7 letters of the alphabet. There's a lot more letters, Kyle. Expand. Bill Walsh did. Bill Walsh could have made up new letters.
Yeah.
And Kyle is so stubborn from my point of view. So I do this and I'm not going to change. Now you may have to change. You may have to use rookies. Maybe you won't have a fullback. Maybe you need to use your offensive line a different way or get a better one. You need to think out of the box that he's in a box, but he put himself in it.
Yep.
No one put him in this box. He put himself in it. And now he's got to open the lid, get out and say, there's a whole world out here.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you just had a good draft last year. You have a bunch of good young players. You haven't played very much. Ricky Pearsall, you took in round 1. Debo's gone. Like, let's see it. Maybe you have a bunch of young guys who can step up and you all of a sudden have the new young team in the NFL. Or you expose yourself as a guy who really benefited from having the best roster in football.
And the most, spending almost the most money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like their free agent signings have been great. What's the best free agent signing that this team has made under John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan? Travarius Ward, Richard Sherman. It wasn't Hargrave. It wasn't Quan Alexander. I don't know. So there's that, and then their drafting has been really inconsistent. I mean, the Trey Lance debacle, Javon Kinlaw, Mike McGlinchey, Solomon Thomas. I mean, a lot of bad picks.
The free agent. What about the guy who refused to play?
Devondre Campbell.
That wasn't good.
Their free agent signings have been bad. So that's why they're in this position. And every time they make a mistake in the draft and free agency, the Yorks have paid to cover up the problem for 8 years. It's you can't call them cheap. They're not the A's.
No. And now they're saying, you know, the debt is due. Let's see what you're capable of. And Iggy, I think it's great. I do. Having said that, I don't think it's an excuse for a bad season. If I were Jed York, I would say, these are your constraints, and we still expect you to do well. I think both those statements are fair.